Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So this morning I've got approximately, let's say, give or take 2 hours excluding driving to go out and take some photos. So I thought what I'd do is go out and exclusively shoot black and white images, very high contrast as well. I'm gonna go to a little spot near the coast. Lupin is gonna be coming with me, my dog, so there'll probably be a lot of one-handed shooting. I'll commentate and try and give my thought process, what I'm noticing, why, and how I'm framing shots up over the footage. Okay, so first shot of the day coming up here. Apologize about the little rain spot on my action camera here. I noticed this basketball net, which I think makes a really nice contrast against the bright white sky. And I frame it up and just get a really nice central minimal composition. Not really that keen on the lamppost on the left hand side, if I'm honest. I probably would go in and remove that if I was going to use this photo for anything serious. So I'm hanging around a bit here and I'm just hoping that someone walks across the back of the shot, because that would add something that's just missing from making that shot a little bit more dynamic. And then finally a group of people do walk past, so I get the same composition set up and wait for them to walk into the frame. I just wait for them to get past the lamppost and before the basketball net and take my first photograph here. I do wish they were all wearing darker clothing, because then they're going to contrast against that sky like the guy on the left hand side does, but what can you do? They were the only people walking past this morning. And then I do get a second shot where they're walking on the other side of the basketball net as well. In both of those shots I do wish the people were a little bit more spaced out as well, because they're, well, it's just the two people at the back that are a bit too close. Okay, moving on, I noticed this little signpost that says something to do with it being a storm prevention area or something along those lines, and I take a few different angles of this sign. If I'm honest, I have no idea why I always take photos of signs. I just seem to always gravitate towards them when I see them. They make good subjects, but at the same time, unless the sign's like funny or saying something that particularly like plays a major role in the photo, then I'm not really sure why I always gravitate towards them. So I start heading down onto the beach now, and I spot this grassy mound sort of on the entrance of the beach that caught my eye, and I felt like it could look quite nice in the foreground, maybe a little bit blurry as well. So I do hang around and wait for a couple of people to walk in. These people pass first, but they're a little bit too far ahead of me at the time to take a shot, and then two more people pass and I grab this frame here. Coming up next is a shot I actually really like on this morning, and funnily enough, I'm drawn to the life buoy, which is obviously bright red, but I'm shooting in black and white. So that's something I have to bear in mind, that when color is present and I'm not shooting in color isn't always the best thing to be looking out for. And there's this dog walker in the distance, and for clarity, he or she did have a couple of dogs with them, but they were so small and insignificant in the frame, they almost looked like imperfections or dust or something. So I did actually give them a quick spot heel out just to clean it up, because they looked like either a mistake or something wrong with the camera or something in the frame. So in classic fashion, I'm drawn to this sign again that says beach this way. Now this one is a better example of where the sign actually plays a bigger role in the photo, right? Because you can read the text and it's adding to the photo as a whole. It's not just a sign that's present in the shot for kind of no reason. This first one here is maybe a little bit messy with the waves in the background, so I then drop down a bit and try and get the railing to cross straight across the horizon, and then we hide some of those waves and stuff behind the railings as well. And I feel this one is much cleaner. So walking along this sort of promenade, if that's what you would call it here, it starts to get a bit foggy in the distance in the background, and I really like how bright that path is leading into the distance, and then the railings and the grass and stuff on the left hand side being quite dark. So someone comes out in the distance from down one of the little entryways, and I snap this of them in the distance, and I absolutely love this shot. This is right up my street. A distant figure that's a silhouette, nice strong blacks in the left, and then the lampposts as well, and then a bit of a hazy sky, hazy background, and we don't really need to know what's in that background because our foreground is so nice and strong. The only minute change I think I would make to this photo would be to have the person a couple of steps to the left so they were perfectly between those lampposts, but I wasn't bursting here, if I can remember remember correctly. So we've got what we've got, and I do really like this shot. So I stick around here for a little while and see if anyone else is going to come up this path, and a couple of dog walkers do walk past us with another golden retriever, and that's nice to see. So I kind of wait for them to pass me and walk off into the frame, and we grab this one here. And I do like this, especially because we've got the dog in the shot there as well with the tail flowing around, but it's not quite as strong as the last one, especially because the person on the left is kind of not blending into the railings, but I don't really want them railings cutting into the person. I want them to be in the center of the path, which is much harder to do when you've got two people, but quite like this one, not as strong as the first one. So next up, still on the path though, I swing round, and again we've got this signage and this life buoy that I need to really try and stop being drawn to so much, but I like the fact that there's a gap in between the two elements there. So I wait for this couple or friends or whatever they are coming, and right as they get in between that tiny little sliver in the poles, I fire that shot off there, and I think that works quite well. I maybe like them a little bit higher up in the frame, so if I'd have positioned my camera a bit higher there, I think it probably would have worked a bit better, but I do really like that. And then sticking around a bit longer here, I just see if I can get anything else, and a dog walker walks off in the distance. So this time I tried to capture him nicely in that entryway down onto the beach, which in this case, because obviously normally I say try to not get people leaving your frame, but in this case, because he's positioned in the entryway, which gives you a nice entrance to the beach, and he's kind of blurry and in the distance anyway, I don't think it matters too much. And the main focus really is on those signs and the grassy bits down there. So yeah, I like this image probably even more than that first one with the people in the gap. Directly after photographing that one, the same two people that I caught in the gap are now walking off along the beach in the distance. So I'll just get up nice and close to this railing here and shoot them off in the distance and get this really nice dark and white high contrast shot with just the silhouettes there on the beach. And again, this is totally my kind of shot. We've got those reeds in the foreground there, and I'm not sure if I like it or not. It's kind of like they're there, they're not necessarily too much in your face, but also would it be better without them in the shot? I'm not 100% sure. And again, with this one, I did actually remove a dog just because it looked like a silly little imperfection because it was so small in the frame. Okay, stepping back, I just wanted to get one more bigger shot of these signs and life buoy and stuff, but this time I'm really drawn to the grassy reeds that are flowing over the railings. I think that's so nice with the highlights hitting them as well, and it creates this lovely sort of nature taking over the railings, taking back what's theirs type of shot. And then again, we've got the man-made life buoy and the sign there on the right hand side to anchor it back. And yeah, I really like this one. It's nice and detailed. Love the highlights on the grass, and I think this one's pretty good, to be honest. So walking off back onto the beach now, I spot this bit of driftwood on the sand, and of course driftwood in the foreground of your photo you can't go wrong with. However, on this occasion it just blends in with the beach too much, especially in black and white even more so. I then turn around and walk to go back off the beach, and these two people are passing me, and I know they're walking off down the beach, so I swing around, and my action camera turns on a little bit too late here, but I use this rock on the beach to sit in the center with the two people on the left hand side, nicely situated between the land that you can see in the distance and the rock. And again, this is right up my street, silhouetted figures in the distance, nice dark sand. Love this shot. Okay, so I now wander off to sort of front of the beach where the sea's coming in, and I've got it in my mind that I'm going to capture a couple of sort of abstracty shots, right? And I'm not particularly good at these, but I see what I can do anyway. So first of all, I'm looking at the bright sea foam coming in and lapping onto the beach, and of course with the sand being quite dark, it's not a beautiful blue sky day or anything like that. I can create a really great contrast here. So I just take this quick snap here where it's got this nice cut through of the white hitting the black sand, and it's a nice abstracty shot, but I'm not really sure what I would do with it, whether I'd include it anywhere. So having done that one, I then go in search for a few rocks and stuff to see if we can get some of that foam flowing through the rocks. I take this quick shot here, and it's okay. I mean, it's a little bit messy and the focus point of the image is a little bit off, but I do like that look of the sea foam coming across the black sand. So having liked that result almost, I decided to try and get a few top downs of maybe some water flowing through some little cracks and stuff. So I take a couple of photos here, and I do like these, and it almost makes me think of a river flowing through somewhere, even though it's actually the ocean flowing through a few rocks. But it gives you that sense of maybe like, especially this one, maybe like drone footage of a river flowing through somewhere. And I like it. It's one of those images where you're trying to see things, trying to see smaller pictures in bigger pictures, if that makes sense. And so this is one of those tips where people often complain about, I don't really know what to photograph. There's nothing really around where I live, or I've only got the same locations at my disposal. But you have to look at places differently. And shots like that almost shows you that there's worlds within worlds within worlds. And that's not with a macro lens or anything. Imagine if you go to the beach where there's loads of textures and rocks and you're using a macro lens. The amount of shots that you can find, although it may not be the grand epic shots that you want, it's teaching you to see way more than what's actually available to like the naked eye. Well, not the naked eye, because we can still see it ourselves, but the average person that's walking along is probably not going to be looking at those intricate little details. So if you can teach yourself to look out for that, you're really on the way then to just being such a more observant photographer. And observation is literally everything in photography. Okay, so heading off the beach again now for the 100th time. I start messing about with Lupin and having a bit of a play with him. Take a shot of him here. You've always got to grab a shot of your dog, haven't you, when you go out with your dog, let's be honest. I spoke earlier about those sort of reeds and stuff in the bottom of the very dark beach shot that I took. And here's a very similar image, but this time without the reeds. And again, I'm getting rid of a couple of dogs in this shot because they showed up so small and insignificant in the frame that they were very distracting. Moving up this hill now, and I spot this bench and this little pole. I have no idea what that pole is, but I take a shot of this and it's a nice minimal scene, but I really need somebody sat on that bench or somebody stood on the grass somewhere to complete that shot, just to give it a little bit more character. Okay, so speaking of little textures and details and worlds within worlds that you can find, I think this is probably a great example coming up. So I spot this sort of stone wall almost that's been created by nature, and I really like the textures, bumps, lines and all of that, especially the dark and light portions. Very abstract. And then we've got a portrait version as well. And then lastly, I step back and I get a version of the shot with quite a bit of sky in there to give us a nice white negative space above all that texture. And that's probably my favorite out of the three. So final few shots coming up here. I'm walking directly back to my car here now. I spot this telephone wire going across in the distance. And as I take this photo, a couple of the birds actually fly off. Now shooting at 50mm from here on APS-C crop mode as well to get me in even tighter. And it's probably still not tight enough, but other than that, other than the fact that I would have liked that to be a bit closer in, I really like it. Nice and minimal, got the birds in there, telephone wire cutting across the sky. Tiny bit of detail down here as well that suggests there's something there, like a house or a hut or something. Decide to walk up the track a little bit and turn around and get a second image that's very similar, this time with the birds on the left hand side just sitting there, none flying away, and I like this one just as much as the last one. I then spot this little horse having its, well, not really a little horse, is it, having a snack on some hay. Take this shot here. Love this. I think there's value in the fact that you can't like properly see the horse. Does anyone else ever feel like that? The fact that it's such a strong dark subject with that white sky in the background. Nice highlight on the hay as well, so you know it's a horse, you know the horse is eating the hay, but the fact that it's powerful and dark says something in the image, I feel. And then very last shot coming up for the day. I think this is possibly the one that works the least in black and white here. It could have done if the conditions were a little bit different, but it was starting to brighten up now. When you're in the middle and it's kind of flat, you lose that contrast. All right, that wraps up a couple of hours of monochrome high contrast photography at the coast. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you picked up on a couple of little nuances and stuff from those photos. I was pleasantly surprised actually And I think if you guys enjoyed this video, I'm definitely going to do it again. I may, because this location I went to was from 15 Photos One Location, the series I did on my YouTube channel. I may go back to all of the locations and exclusively shoot in black and white. I'll definitely make one more in the coming weeks to kind of get a gauge of how they're going, and we'll go from there. But I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Leave a comment and leave a like, because that will help the video do better, and be really nice as well, because I'm a nice guy.